we saw the movie, I believe it was Big Boss, when he got, and he showed his back. I said, wow, that's the first time, it was.
For decades, Jean-Claude Van Damme remained silent about his connection to Bruce Lee. But now, Van Damme has finally spoken out, and what he revealed has sparked heated debates among fans, exposing hidden truths and challenging long-time beliefs about Bruce Lee's untold struggles. Why did Van Damme choose to speak out now, and what does this mean for Lee's untouchable legacy? The answers will leave you stunned. Early connections to the martial arts world. Jean-Claude Van Damme was born on October 18, 1960, in Brussels, Belgium. His real name was Jean-Claude Varenberg. His father, Eugene Varenberg, was a florist. His mother, Eliana, worked as an accountant. Together, they lived a modest life, far removed from the world of movie stars and fight scenes. As a child, Van Damme wasn't the muscular action hero fans would later know him as. He was skinny, shy, and often overlooked. His classmates teased him for his soft voice and small frame, but what they couldn't see was the spark that had already started to burn inside him. That spark ignited the first time he saw Bruce Lee on screen. For young Van Damme, Bruce Lee wasn't just an actor. He was a force of nature. His speed, his strength, his confidence. It was unlike anything Van Damme had ever seen. From that moment, his life had a new purpose. He begged his parents to let him learn karate. At just 10 years old, his father signed him up for lessons at a small martial arts school in Brussels. The shy, quiet boy stepped onto the dojo floor and never looked back. Van Damme trained relentlessly. He wasn't the biggest, the strongest, or the fastest, but he refused to quit. Day after day, he pushed himself harder. His instructors quickly saw his potential, not because he was naturally gifted, but because of his discipline. He watched Bruce Lee's films, memorizing every move, every technique, and every expression of power. By his teenage years, Van Damme had added bodybuilding to his daily routine. Determined to sculpt his body into a weapon, he spent hours in the gym, lifting weights and building muscle. But he didn't stop there. Inspired by Lee's precision and control, Van Damme took up ballet, an unconventional move for a boy so focused on fighting, but one that gave him incredible flexibility and balance. Van Damme's connection to Bruce Lee went deeper than simple admiration. What most fans don't realize is that Van Damme wasn't just watching from the sidelines. Behind the scenes, Van Damme moved through the same underground martial arts circles that had shaped Lee's legend. He trained with fighters who claimed to have sparred with Bruce. He listened to stories shared in quiet corners of gyms, on film sets where egos collided. These weren't just second-hand rumors. Van Damme was hearing directly from people who had seen Bruce Lee at his most intense. Some told him about Lee's brilliance, the way he revolutionized martial arts with his philosophy of adaptability and freedom from tradition. On one hand, Lee was the gold standard, the master of speed, technique, and presence. On the other, he was human, facing the same weaknesses and doubts that haunt every fighter. But Van Damme wasn't ready to speak publicly about what he knew. Even the slightest criticism sparked outrage. Van Damme understood that. He also understood the danger of challenging a legend's legacy, especially when so much of his own success was built on the path Lee had carved. But as the years passed, Van Damme's own experiences in the fight world would reveal cracks in the story people believed about Bruce Lee, and it wouldn't be long before the truth finally came out. For years, one question followed Jean-Claude Van Damme everywhere he went. Could Bruce Lee really win in a real fight? People wondered if the on-screen legend matched the off-screen reality. Van Damme, despite his deep respect for Bruce Lee, avoided answering that question. His silence only fueled the debate. But behind the scenes, he was forming his own opinion, and it wasn't the simple, flawless story fans expected. Van Damme had seen the difference between cinematic fighting and real-world combat firsthand. By the time he was starring in action films like Bloodsport and Kickboxer, he knew how brutal and unforgiving real fighting could be. He also knew how carefully choreographed films were. That knowledge changed the way Van Damme viewed Bruce Lee's legacy. He admired his ability to inspire millions. When Van Damme finally broke his silence, he didn't hold back. He acknowledged Bruce Lee's genius, but also pointed out what many martial artists had quietly said for years. Lee was a pioneer, but not without limits. His training methods were revolutionary, but his real-world fight experience remained a mystery. Van Damme's words sent shockwaves through the martial arts community. Some praised his honesty, others were furious, accusing him of criticizing a legend. But Van Damme wanted the world to see Bruce Lee for who he truly was. And that revelation was only the beginning, the dream fight that never happened. For decades, martial arts fans argued over one question: what would have happened if Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme ever faced each other? It was the dream match, the ultimate clash between two icons who defined generations. On one side was Bruce Lee, the speed, the philosophy, the revolutionary style that shattered boundaries. On the other was Van Damme, the raw power, flexibility, and knockout kicks that turned him into a global superstar. Could Bruce Lee's lightning-fast strikes overpower Van Damme's brutal strength? It was a question that refused to fade. But Van Damme, after years of silence, finally revealed why that fight never came close to reality, and why the truth was far more complicated than fans ever imagined. Van Damme admitted that comparing himself to Bruce Lee wasn't as simple as people made it seem. They were from different eras, different worlds, with completely different paths to success. Bruce Lee was a master of both martial arts and image. His movies showed a flawless fighter, a man of impossible speed, balance, and control. But Van Damme had been around real fighters his entire life, people who carried scars long after the fight ended. He understood that no one, not even Bruce Lee, could exist beyond human limits. Behind every high-flying kick and lightning-fast punch was a body vulnerable to exhaustion. Van Damme knew it because he lived it himself. Years of training, both for film and competition, had left him with countless injuries. Van Damme respected Bruce Lee's discipline, his creativity, and his impact on martial arts. But the idea of a perfect, unbeatable fighter, that he believed was a carefully crafted illusion. Still, Van Damme made one thing clear. He never wanted to fight Bruce Lee, not because he doubted his own ability, but because Lee was more than just a potential opponent. To Van Damme, Bruce Lee represented the foundation of modern martial arts cinema, the man who opened the door for martial artists to be seen as global stars, not just fighters. Their paths were never meant to collide. In Van Damme's eyes, Bruce Lee had already fought his greatest battles. But beneath the surface of Lee's success, Van Damme uncovered a hidden truth about how far Bruce Lee pushed himself. Jean-Claude Van Damme never hid his respect for Bruce Lee's work ethic, but what he revealed about Lee's extreme lifestyle left fans divided. Van Damme explained that Bruce Lee's dedication to martial arts wasn't just intense, it was nearly obsessive. Lee pushed his body beyond what most people believed was possible. His training was relentless, combining traditional martial arts with brutal strength conditioning and experimental routines that few dared to attempt at the time. But Van Damme, who had spent years transforming his own body through martial arts and bodybuilding, recognized the dangerous edge Bruce Lee was walking. Lee's physique may have looked effortless on screen, but Van Damme understood how much sacrifice it demanded behind the scenes. Van Damme shared that while Bruce Lee's dedication was inspiring, it was also concerning. Lee didn't just train to stay sharp, he trained to reshape what people believed the human body could do. But in that pursuit, he placed himself under constant physical and mental strain. Van Damme, who had faced his own struggles with fame and the physical toll of action films, understood the harsh reality behind the legend's image. Lee's commitment to pushing boundaries made him a pioneer, but Van Damme questioned whether it also accelerated his downfall. Fans saw a flawless martial artist. Van Damme saw a man carrying immense pressure, yet refusing to slow down. His shocking revelation sparked debate. Was Bruce Lee's greatness the result of talent and discipline, or did it come at the cost of his own health? Hidden struggles behind the fame. To the outside world, Lee was unstoppable, but away from the cameras, Lee was fighting battles most people never saw. Van Damme revealed how the constant push for perfection took a brutal toll on Lee's health. Those close to Lee could see the cracks beneath the surface. the signs that his body was struggling to keep up with his ambition. But Bruce Lee refused to slow down. Van Damme understood that mindset all too well. As an action star, he had faced the same dangerous mix of fame, expectation, and physical punishment. But even he admitted that Lee's intensity went beyond anything he had ever witnessed. Lee's untimely passing in 1973 stunned the world. Fans were left devastated, but for those who understood the cost of chasing perfection, it was a tragic reminder of how far Bruce Lee was willing to push himself. Van Damme's reflection wasn't meant to diminish Lee's greatness. It exposed the depth of his sacrifice. But Van Damme wasn't done. His final words about Bruce Lee's legacy would ignite debate like never before, and challenge modern fighters to rethink what true greatness really means. Van Damme didn't shy away from exposing the uncomfortable truth. Most modern action stars still fall short of what Bruce Lee represented. Even with all the technology, the biggest action movies often lack the heart and grit that defined Bruce Lee's work. He pointed out that Lee wasn't just performing choreographed moves. He was showcasing years of relentless dedication. Every kick, every punch, every scene carried the weight of real effort, and Van Damme believes that's what set Lee apart. In Van Damme's eyes, Bruce Lee wasn't perfect, but that's exactly what made him legendary. He was driven, flawed, and human, and understanding that truth makes his accomplishments even more extraordinary. The myth of invincibility may have faded, but the impact remains. Bruce Lee changed martial arts, action cinema, and global culture forever. And through voices like Jean-Claude Van Damme, his story continues to evolve, challenging new generations to question, to learn, and to reach for something greater. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for further updates, and click the next video on screen for another interesting story.